Welcome back. Today on Expert Showcase, we have Jim Kellner, and we're going to be talking in this segment, the Expert Focus segment, about creating the future with the power of your mind. And for those of you who watched the beginning, who watched the hero's journey, you'll know that Jim's gone through a lot of struggle and strife in his life, and he's definitely the person to help you create the future with the power of your mind. And for those of you keeping track, the cough counter is at 3. If you don't know what we're talking about, you got to go back to the beginning and watch the beginning of the show and figure it out. It'll be worth your while. So anyway, Jim, let's dive right in. Before we go into the 3 bullet points and each of the individual keys to success we're going to talk about today, I want to give our audience a quick overview about this topic and the subject of creating the future with the power of your mind.
Yeah, it's people maybe have trouble understanding this idea that you can really create your future with your mind. But if you think about it, how did any building get built? How did a bridge get built? Somebody had to see it in their mind first. A bridge doesn't just happen. A building doesn't just happen. And so when you start to create the life that you want in your mind, and maybe you put it out on paper, or maybe you don't, whatever you want to do, I think that's really the key to getting where you want to be.
Epic. And then today we're going to talk about specifically, we're going to start imagining, we're going to reframe our occurrences, and then just make the call. So let's dive into each one of those individually, and let's start off with start imagining. What are we talking about here?
Well, I think one of the great things too is I think that people talk about goal boards a lot, and I think those are a great idea. I know I made myself one, and just seeing visual images um, is fantastic for your mind, conscious and as well as your unconscious mind. And so, I mean, I put up a goal board, and within the year it was crazy because so many things had happened that were on that goal board that I hadn't even consciously focused on. And so that's one part of it. But the other part is now I use hypnosis. So when I'm doing hypnosis for myself or for someone else, I have them imagine that future that they want, that life. And one of the things I love this. One of my clients recently said, he said, I could see the apartment building in my mind, and it gets you fired up. It gets you excited about it, and it gives you some direction, I think. And because the unconscious mind really it operates a lot in visual imagery. Um, it's really powerful. It's a very powerful tool for getting you to where you want to be. Now you can also do this just by sitting and visualizing something. But again, we don't get in this place where all we're doing is visualizing. And I think one of the problems with The Secret is that people missed in the movie The Secret and things like that is it's that action part. You can't just sit and visualize all day. You actually do have to take some action, but the visualization is really a key component, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And so a couple of interesting things there. One, and I'm sure you talk about this in your talks and other things you do. Part of what you're doing is you're activating your RAS, or your reticular activation system. So you're actually there. Your brain is looking for and expecting these things. It's kind of like, when you go to buy a new car and you buy this brand new red whatever. And I've learned from a previous video that if I mention a product in here, it'll get spanked. I'll get spanked by YouTube, which was really bizarre. Complete another topic. I mean, it was. We'll talk about that offline, but that's besides the point. So you go out and buy a red car, and you swear before you bought that red car, nobody in the world had that color red in that same car, and then you drive off the lot, and then everybody all of a sudden has that color car and that same color and that same car. So it works to really clue your mind in on what to look for. The other thing, I've done vision boards. I've done vision boards for a long time, and one of the things I did was when I moved into one of my houses, was I basically created a vision board for everything that we were going to get for the house over time. And the interesting thing that did was when extra money came up or when something happened, it also gave me something to look to, and instead of going ahead and spending it, maybe on an impulse buy, it was okay. Let's look at the vision board. What did we say we want? Is this stuff we still want? And if it is, okay, here you go. Now we're going to go ahead and obtain it. And it works the same way with with success. It helps to keep you on track, right?
Absolutely.
And
And it
that's
reminds
go
you,
ahead.
and it reminds you, it reminds you of what's important, which you just talked about, and that it works the same way with your mind. If you're just kind of visualizing it all the time or seeing it in hypnosis, it reminds you of what's important, and so you're not distracted by, oh, I really want to watch TV, but you go, oh yeah, but what's more important?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because I think that's the other key is as you were just saying, it reminds you of what's important and it keeps you on track and allows you to progress forward and it gives you, as I call it, a touchstone to compare your activities against to make sure any activities you're taking are important and are going to push you forward, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. And I also love what you said about the fact that, with imaging only goes so far. It's kind of like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you can imagine your success all day long, but if you don't take action on it, then it's not going to happen, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So when you work with somebody who might come to because we're talking about imaging, you mentioned the movie The Secret. One of my mentors, Paul Martinelli, was in the movie, and one of the things a lot of people talk about nowadays is the law of attraction. So when people come to you and say, "Look, I've been trying this imaging stuff, and I'm a student of the law of attraction, and nothing has happened," what do you how do you deal with that, and what do you ask them? What's the first thing you ask them to do?
I asked them, what action have you taken? Because I talk to people, sometimes, I know people out there that have watched The Secret 50 times and they brag about it. I watched The Secret every week for 6 months or something. Or I read the book and I've read spend that time doing something, people. That the movie is to help you become aware of that law of the universe. It's not meant to teach you anything really more than that. I don't think. To me, it's really to get that thought across to you that you are in control and that whatever you focus on in life expands. And it's that action part. I think somebody needs to do the secret part too.
Yeah, I think John Ashcraft was had just done something else. I think it was him that just came out with another kind of like kind of like what was, it's like, okay, I believe, I helped with the original Secret, and here's what's kind of wrong, and here's what we have to do different now. And I think that talks more about action, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong. I'm completely misreading these 7,000 promotional emails he's sent out over the. I'm not busting on John. It's okay, John. I'm not. You're good. You're good at marketing. You're taking action. Well, that's the whole thing. He
Right,
wants
take
more.
action. Right.
He wants more people to join the neuro gym and everything else. So he's taking action. The other thing, here's a question for you. When you find people struggle to imagine things and struggle to hold that image, do you find that it's more often that they're imagining the wrong thing, meaning that they're imagining something that isn't right for their life, or do you find it's something that they're just people who don't have this imaginative capability and they just can't implement the imagining phase of this?
That's a great point. People imagine in different ways, and for some people, they'll be very visual, and so they can get a really good visual image. They can tell you all the details and everything. For some people, it's a little more cloudy. Mine is sort of cloudy. It's not real. It's not real vivid usually. And some people are going to be they're going to imagine sounds or feelings, and so whatever is helpful for them, and that's just based on how their learning style and that kind of thing. And so whatever works best for them. Although I do think the thing with imagination is the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it, just like everything else. But just practice. If you have trouble seeing that, when we talk about that, like maybe losing weight, that 50 pounds, what that's going to look like, what would it feel like? What would it feel like to be able to? And you can go through all the, what would it feel like to wake up in the morning, to walk across the room, to be able to go for a walk with your friends, those kind of things. And the other part is if you still can't imagine, pretend. It'll work the same. That's the other part. Just pretend.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of like the same thing when people have dreams that feel that they're really real. Your brain
Exactly.
your brain in a lot of cases doesn't understand the difference between a dream and reality. It doesn't understand the difference between, the truth, the imagined truth, and just pretending. So, and it's interesting you bring up about the fact of how would it feel and what would it look like, because that really takes us into our next topic of reframing occurrences.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.